Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, and you are here for the June 2017 PracticeMaster Virtual User Group meeting, where today we are talking about DFIC. My brother, the trademark attorney, looked at me the other day and said, "What's a DFIC?" Because he had just gotten the announcement for the TABS or PracticeMaster Virtual User Group meeting and wanted to know what a DFIC was. Well, we're going to talk about DFICs. That stands for Data File Integrity Check. Nobody ever really does them. We're going to tell you how to do them. Mary Jo's going to tell you how to do them. A little bit of information on how to interpret the results. And I'm going to talk about opening files when you're not in the client screen, like the calendar or the journal or the people. You'll see what I mean in a second. We'll talk more about that. And so, without further ado, I'm going to press a series of magic buttons that have been bestowed upon me by the gods and leave us in PracticeMaster, where Mary Jo will talk about our Data File Integrity Check report.
Okay, so Data File Integrity Checks are in all of our modules. They're individually run for each module, and they're usually done monthly. I have them as part of my month-end process. Each program, like I said, TABS, Trust, Accounts Payable, General Ledger, and PracticeMaster all have their own Data File Integrity Check. And they're always found either under Utilities or Maintenance tab, and there's a little checkbox here, Data File Integrity Check. And this is the one that we want to click on and we want to run. Now, something to be aware of is this is an exclusive task, so you're going to need everybody out of the systems when you do this. So for me, last day of the month or first day of the next month or whatever, I give everybody a warning and say, hey, this morning I'm going to be doing all of the Data File Integrity Checks. I'll let you know when they're done. So it's part of that monthly maintenance that you're going to do. If we go into tabs, you'll see that there's another one under there. And again, it's either under the utilities or the utilities maintenance. Sometimes they combine those. Sometimes they're under both. But in tabs, just be aware there's a Data File Integrity Check, and then there's also an Archive Data File Integrity Check. And so these are two separate things. This is going to check all the live data. This is going to check all your archive data. And so there's two in tabs. Everyone else, all the other programs have just one, and you can run these here. All of the others, Trust, again, AP, GL, they'll have it either under Utilities, Maintenance, or Maintenance, so you can get in there. So when we run these, the goal is for it to complete and for it to say that it completed with no errors. That's what we want. Now, sometimes you're going to get an error that comes back. And the most common error I see between tabs and PracticeMaster is an error 500. And the error 500 means that somewhere along the line, tabs and PracticeMaster are no longer in sync. Doesn't mean things aren't syncing necessarily, but it's an error that says that it just doesn't recognize that it's synced any longer. Sometimes that's accompanied by another error, sometimes it's not. So if you get an error 500 in either tabs or PracticeMaster, the resolution is to just go underneath the integration tab in either program and resync. So just synchronize tabs and PracticeMaster. And by running this program and resolving any conflicts, if there are any, that will remove that error 500 in the Data File Integrity Check. There are lots of other errors that you might get. They always have a number. So you might get a Data File Integrity Check in PracticeMaster error number 15, or you might get an error number 35 or 600 or whatever that is. There are different numbers for the Data File Integrity Check errors. And if we want to know what that error is and what that error means, we can do that by going into our knowledge base. And I always go under Help, Internet Resources, and Knowledge Base. And by opening up the knowledge base window, we get an option in our search down here to type in something that we're looking for. Now, when I'm looking for a Data File Integrity Check error, I always type DFIC, a little DFIC as Paul calls it, and then the error that I want to look for, the number that was on that report. Now, one thing I will suggest to you is if you get an error report on your Data File Integrity Check, print that out to a PDF. Because you don't want to keep people out of the system necessarily if you're running short on time. These sometimes can take a long time to run depending on how big your data set is. So if we've got people out and we need to get them back in, we want to go ahead and print this report to a PDF file so we can refer to it later, but yet not lose it and get out of that so that the users can access the program again. So then I can come in and I have that report, I have those numbers, and I can type in my DFIC and whatever number is on the report and just click go. And this will take me out, of course, I'm sorry, DFC error. I forgot the error. DFIC error 500. You want the error in there. And then go. And now we'll get the kickback here. So DFIC error, and here's my 500 that I put in. And regardless of, if I put 74 or 200 or whatever the error is, it will give me one of these hits that I can go into and look at what that error is. So here's my 500. It's going to tell me all about what this error is and how come it happened sometimes, and a resolution. Sometimes the resolution, like in this case, is pretty simple. You're going to go in and you're just going to resync tabs in PracticeMaster. If this were another error that had a resolution to reindex a certain file, maybe it's going to reindex the contact file, and it will even tell you reindex the contact file with compact checked. Things like that. We want to pay attention to what that resolution is. Now, sometimes you're going to get in here and you're going to see a resolution that's going to be above and beyond what you can understand or know what to do. In that case, you're welcome to call us or Software Technology. They can walk you through how to fix that error because it can get kind of complicated. And if you're not comfortable doing it, don't do it. We don't want you just going in and clicking and trying to haphazardly fix an error that maybe you don't know necessarily what's going to happen if you click on this or not. So be careful with this. This gives you some information. At least you might be able to isolate down, oh, well, this is an error in whatever. If it's simple solution like resyncing or reindexing a certain file and you're comfortable with it, go ahead and follow the instructions and do that. Otherwise, let us know and we can help you. Now, one of the other things that we have that is really common in accounts payable is duplicate federal IDs. In this day and age right now, we have a lot of medical providers that have a tax ID number that is the same as the organization that they work for. So maybe you've got a hospital that has a federal ID number and the doctor's federal ID number is the same. And they're two separate vendors and they're both getting a 1099. It will kick back an error that says duplicate federal ID. Well, in that case, you know that that's the case. There's not a resolution right now for that in accounts payable, aside from it telling you this. And you do need both of those for your 1099s. So it's just one of those things that you're going to recognize that, oh, here's the same federal ID for these two vendors. I need to add these together and maybe do a manual 1099 for that vendor or those two vendors, whatever that would be, if they have to be combined or separated. So that's a common error you might see in AP. That's not a critical error. Those can stay because you know why that is happening. But most of the time in all of these programs, you should be getting completed with no errors. We want that to be 0. So that's just a couple of things to look out for. There's a couple of places, like I said, in the help knowledge base that you can go and find out a little bit more about the error. You should be running those data file integrity checks at least monthly. I always recommend to my clients to do that. And just to keep monitoring whether or not something weird happened in the background that you didn't even know about. Sometimes we change fields in file maintenance, and that creates other errors for us that we didn't realize was going to happen. A lot of times if we make a field be required, and that field has existed and there's no data in it, that will throw a bunch of data file integrity check errors in PracticeMaster. So there's a lot of things that can come up that all of a sudden, well, it was 0 last month, and now all of a sudden I've got 500. What happened? So it's not uncommon. It's not something to panic about. It is something that we do want to resolve and get to 0 if we can. There's some errors that carry over from old conversions that, we just want to go in and check those. And, again, any questions, feel free to let us know. You have, if you're still on maintenance, Software Technology is a good resource for data file integrity check errors. Paul, I'd say you're pretty good. I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think he could handle helping you with a DFIC error if I'm not available, but I'm always happy to assist with that as well. So remember to print them.
This is somebody's going to say, thanks for helping me with that. Now can you help me resolve this payment issue from the statement that was updated 2 months ago?
Oh, no worries. Okay, Paul.
Okay. I think the most common time that I see these is files that were set up as regular matters, and then you put some time entries in, and then you realize that has to be changed to task billing.
Oh, that's another good one. That's a great one. You're going to now electronically file the case, and you change it to task bill, but you already have time that you've entered with T codes. That's another big one that comes out, and that's a good report then to have, to be able to go in and fix those entries.
Exactly.
Because you can use it if you print it. And a lot of times, if you have the time to stay in the data file integrity check, those errors are also able to be drilled down to, for example, if you have a calendar record, you can maybe click on that record and it will take you right to that, the record in the data file integrity check report. It will take you right into that record so you can correct it right there on the fly. Now, if you don't have too many of those and it's something that you can just go in and fix, sometimes there's a weird date in there or something crazy, you can just go right to that record and correct it right then instead of having to print it out and then going into the record later.
Exactly.
But if it's a time crunch, print it to a file, you've got it, and then you can rerun it again the next day to see that you've resolved them.
Exactly. Yeah, don't stay in there to keep people out just to kind of fiddle around. But if it's something you can go directly to, it is convenient to drill down.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to talk about something totally different in a totally different program, although DFIC shows up everywhere, or DFIC, as my brother Dave calls them. I'm going to talk about opening files without regard for matter. Okay, what do I mean by that? It's hard to visualize. So let's go into the client screen. And we're going to look at, let's pick on Michael Larson's ADA employment issue. And so I can look at documents. And these are the documents for this matter. And I can look at fees. And these are the fees for this matter. These are the costs for this matter. These are the people that are tied to this matter. These are emails, phone notes, those are all from the journal file, calendar items for this matter, okay? But the thing is, what if I wanted to look at all the calendar items? What if I wanted to look at all the documents or all the fees? Now, sometimes people have a hard time envisioning when they might want to do this. So I'm going to jump you over to my PracticeMaster very quickly. I'm going to bear with me while I try to talk while I'm typing my password at the same time. It doesn't always work. Worked that time. And I'm going to go right into my calendar where we're set for today. And I've got different views. So if I look at the calendar as a whole, here's the whole calendar, not just my calendar items, Mary Jo's, Ken's, Leanne's, everybody's. But then I can build filters. For instance, here's stuff that I need to talk to the people in our data department about. Here's something that we need to focus on at our next staff meeting. So I built quick views, okay? And we're not here to talk about quick views. But the point is, these sometimes will be for clients, sometimes they won't. And so I don't want to go to each client and look at what I'm doing for that client. I want to look at everything that I'm doing. Everything that I'm doing with Jan, everything that I'm doing with Cornet, everything that I'm doing today, everything that I'm doing tomorrow, everything that's overdue. Doesn't matter which client it's assigned to. If we go back to our demo system, another good example would be to open the fee file. So I'm going to show you how we do this. How do we do this? File, open, fee. These are all the fees in the system. I can build quick views to say, show me mine. Show me them by activity. So here down at the bottom, we've got these, regardless of what client, regardless of what matter, pull them all together into one view, but show them to me by activity. I want to see all the ones that are archived. I want to go back and see all of them. I'm looking at the whole fee file. Sometimes you want to look at documents. Now you can always do this here. File, open. It's either listed here or it's in all other files. We'll get to that in a second. But sometimes you can open these right here. Like here's the document management file. This isn't just the files, documents for Michael Larson's ADA employment issue or his workers' comp issue or Kelly White's divorce or her medical care of Brianne. These are all the documents. Doesn't matter what matter it falls into. So you want to see all the documents that are PDFs? There you go, because we built quick views. But the point is, I'm not looking at them, all the medical records requests, bam, there they are. But the point is, I'm not limited to which client it is. You'll see we've got client 100.00, a couple for him, 120.01, and another for 100.00. I'm looking at this across the span of everything. And as you start to wrap your head around this and understand the ramifications of it, like in my calendar example, or in a fee example, or in a document example, it really starts to get huge, this ability to open these files without regard for matter. Now, again, how do we do this? We go into File, Open. Usually, what you want to get into is listed here, but if it's not, maybe I want to look at the jury charges file. I don't even know what that is, but let's look at it. Okay, so it's only got a couple records, but here they are. I can look at that without having to go someplace else to look at it by matter. Maybe I want to look at File, Open, All Other Files. Another good common client related is People. These are all the people that are tied to any matter. So if we then sort by person, what we're going to see is that certain people will show up multiple times. Like here's Lauren. She's the defendant in this case and opposing counsel in that case. That's odd, but it is demo data for what it's worth. Here's Marcus Phillips. He's an accountant for one client, but he also is the claims contact for another client. Again, a little odd, but I think you get the idea. This Linda Purdue, she's all over the place. She's an opposing counsel for 120.01. She's a responsible attorney for 100.01, an expert witness for 100.00. So it's a great way to look at your data from a bird's eye view, a top-down view without looking specifically at what matter it is. It's also, don't get me wrong, it's also huge to be able to go in here and say, for Michael Larson's ADA employment issue, what fees have we logged so far? That's great. But sometimes, and the more you think about it, maybe those sometimes will increase because it's quite useful. Sometimes, however, it's useful to look at the whole file, look at everything, and this is how you do it. File, Open, and then whatever it is you want, whether you have to get there through all other files or through one that's important enough that it's listed up here. I will tell you that the most frustrating part about this is sometimes figuring out where it is. Is it common client related? Is it lookup? Yeah, there it is. I'm looking for the contact file or the calendar code file or whatever. Once you get a feel for where these files are, very simple to go in there. And I, of course, in my system, have actually created buttons up here. This button takes me straight into the calendar file, so that's very helpful for me. Okay, that's all I got.
I was just going to build on that a little bit, Paul. You're right, those buttons, if you go back to that main tab and you go there, if you want, you can actually create buttons out there. And one thing for one firm, they wanted to just be able to add their time. And we know that right now, if you go in there, we've got like a million windows open here, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
If we go into, that fee file, want to add time for clients, we have to go into each client, and you have to go in and you have to pick that client, and then you have to click on fees, and then you have to add a time entry for that in PracticeMaster. And when we want to keep all of our attorneys in PracticeMaster to enter time, you can create out here a little button by customizing and clicking the fee file that all they have to do is click on that fee file, click the new button, and then they can just add time for whatever client matter that they want to without having to go in, and they can just repeatedly just go new, and just stay right there.
Exactly.
And it's a really cool shortcut.
And we can give them quick views for my time today, my time yesterday.
Yep.
And we can make that quick view smart enough that if today's Monday, yesterday's Friday.
Yep.
So really intelligent things we can do with this once you wrap your head around the thought of opening up the whole file instead of going in client by client. Good example. Okay, so next month, we're going to talk about eNotes and eNotifies in PracticeMaster. It's a great way to communicate client-related, matter-related information. It gets saved. It's kind of like instant messaging for matters, if you will. Mary Jo's going to talk about that. And I'm going to talk about ODBC, another one of these funny setup for initials. This time it means Open Database Connectivity, which is even less sensical than DFIC. But it's basically how to get to your data from outside the program, how to get to matters or fees or calendar items or whatever it is you want to see someplace else, like in Excel or in a Crystal Reports or in Access or anywhere that's ODBC compliant. So I'm going to be talking about that, and Mary Jo's going to be talking about eNotes. And of course, as we all know, it wouldn't be the end of one of our virtual user group meetings without me taking you to attorneycomputersystems.com, noticing, of course, the emphasis on the S that ends the word systems, because without it, you will not be where you want to be. But once you get here and you hover over videos or even click on the word videos, you will see in either of the two formats a list of every video title that we have. And these first four are live events. You are currently in a live event. If you're listening and it is June 26th at 2:26 p.m. Eastern Time, then you are in a live event. And so all of these are live events that also get recorded. So if you want to find out more about one of our virtual user group meetings or our Coffee Pot webinars or these, which I'll talk about in a second, all you need to do is click on More Info, and it's going to take you to a place that describes the PracticeMaster virtual user group meeting, tells you what's coming up in the next one. This will change the next one sometime today. Gives you two links that are both going to take you to the same place, doesn't matter which one you click on, to get there to register. Gives you a description of what we're going to talk about. And then as you scroll down, you'll see recorded versions of every other PracticeMaster virtual user group meeting that we ever did. And there are lots of them. There's something like 21 pages of 5 or 6 per page. There is a lot of content here for all of these live events, plus all of our pre-recorded. You'll notice if we do go back here, that we also have the e-bites. That's Mary Jo's series of short 4, 5, 3, 2, somewhere around there, 2 to 5 minute videos, where we take a really cool thing that we discovered or that we knew about but we didn't think other people knew about, that can be described succinctly in a very short period of time. And Mary Jo will do that. She records 3 of these a month, one on Tabs, one on PracticeMaster, one on World Docs. And then we have our longer format, Paul and Mary Jo Show, where I or Mary Jo will take a broader topic and spend 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes going into a deep dive into the nuts and bolts of something that's broader in nature. So please, these videos are out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Please take advantage of them. You can also search by simply going up here and typing something like email and either going with an item off the quick list that pops up that isn't popping up right now, but would normally pop up. There we go. Or you can say view all results, and it'll take you to a more beefy description of each occurrence that it finds. So that's it. That's all we have for today. Everybody have a good rest of the day, good rest of the month, and we will see you in July. Thanks much, everybody. Bye-bye.